Once upon a time, in a towering building called Unity Towers, the residents lived in harmony, each apartment a vibrant patch in a quilt of diverse lives. But one fateful election, the tenants, distracted by their own daily toils, paid very little attention to the ballot for their landlord. By a fluke, they chose Silas Grump, a cunning man with a heart as cold as the building's leaky pipes. Grump's reign was harsh. Rent soared, repairs vanished, and whispers grew of vile deeds. Rumors that he was entangled in illicit activities with very young girls, a scandal that should have ended his rule. The tenants, a mix of colors and creeds, began to murmur, demanding answers. But Grump, sly as a fox, sought to shift their gaze. He accused his least favorite residents, those with richer hues or who voted for the Blue Banner Party, of being dangerous extremists, stirring chaos to mask his own sins. With a sneer, Grump targeted tenants in the Western Wing, like those in the sunny Calavista suites and the industrious folks of Illishire. He called the city guards, falsely claiming these tenants were plotting rebellion. Keep watch, he demanded, ordering guards to camp in their homes, eating their food, sleeping in their beds, and shadowing their every move. Grump hoped the intrusion would spark fury, that a tenant might lash out, giving him an excuse to lock down Unity Towers under his iron grip. The Calavista and Illishire residents, though, were wise. They saw through Grump's ploy. Instead of violence, they organized. Excuse me. I've lost my. Hang on a second. Oh, there it is. Okay. They organized, meeting in secret to document his misdeeds. They gathered evidence of his illicit acts, his false accusations, and his abuse of power. With voices united, they rallied the other tenants from red roofed flats to the green gabled lofts, proving Grump's lies with calm resolve. At last, the tenants stormed the landlord's office, demanding his removal. The city's elders, hearing their plea and seeing the proof, stripped Grump of his title. He was prosecuted for his crimes, his name forever tarnished. In his place, the tenants chose a new leader, Calvin Newhart, a fair minded soul whose name rang with hope and whose vision mended the building's cracks. Under Newhart, Unity Towers thrived, a beacon of peace where every tenant's voice was heard, and they all lived justly ever after. Now, folks, if you were paying attention to that story, it might have sounded a little bit familiar. If you have a police state, if you have a militarized state, if the state you live in has been invaded by the very same army, this very same military forces that have sworn to defend your way of life because an unjust ruler has sent them there to hide his own illicit sins, well, then, you're paying attention. Can you just imagine? Can you just imagine how crazy that would be to have a soldier or a cop or whatever staying in your house, looking through your shit, excuse me, looking through your stuff while you slept, while you ate, while you bathed. That's what these states are going, these states and these cities are going through right now. Chicago, Los Angeles, Portland. They're being occupied with the hope of stirring up some shit so that Donald Trump can declare martial law. So far, the protests have been mostly peaceful, and the only real incidents have been caused by the forces themselves, caused by ICE, caused by overzealous cops, caused by the military. And this whole thing was done under the guise of, oh, we want to stop crime. If you wanted to stop crime, you would have enlisted the aid, you would have communicated with the governors. And it's actually the governors who are supposed to request that military aid. If they said no, then beat it. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff for us to get into today. So I hope you're ready for it, because I am. Let's go. Story time. Welcome to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Folks, happy Friday. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining me for another episode. I just want to put this comment up here by Rick the Procrastinator. It's actually a very astute comment. He says, this is exactly what the 2A, that is the Second Amendment, enthusiasts were warning us about. Where are they? Where are they indeed? These are the ones who, when we brought up gun control, they were like, no, state, keep your hands off our guns, because that's what we need in case of a tyrannical government. Well, this is a tyrannical government. This is literally a tyrannical government. And so where are they? Where indeed? Great question. So let's just pop in quickly. Let's see. Hey, Diane London is up there at the tippy top. Welcome, folks. Let's see. Jonathan Irwin at the top here says, our governor just told Dickless to F right off. I think I know who Dickless is. Let's see. So welcome, Jonathan Irwin, Denny Sig. Will the MAGA horde be swayed when Grump is implicated in Epstein's sex scheme? If I had to guess, and this is a serious guess, I would say no. I would say that if Donald Trump were filmed live eating a live baby, an actual human baby on camera, he would not lose any MAGA voters. Let's see who else we got. Joanne Kennedy there. No, sorry, Joanne, you were not first. That was Diane London. Let's see. Eli D wondering where her Soros checks are. Meredith Powell is here. Shelby is here. Mama AG. Stella Baxter. You guys are going back and forth there. I do not see my buddy Zelda. I hope she's all right. Claudia is here. Ness from Connecticut is here. Tracy M, aka Nurse Mitch, the Trump Reaper, is here. Cecile Kazemi, With a great question here. Riddle me this. Why does Qatar need to build an airbase inside the United States? Could it have something to do with money for someone? That's a great question. We are going to get to that a little bit later in the show. Blue Lady is here. Hal is here. Valerie G. Wilbur McCarthy is here. Welcome, buddy. Asmila J. Sharon Landry. Watcher Soko. Uh, uh, Sharon says the frogs are taking over in Portland. Um, I think the frog thing is hilarious. It's my favorite thing. Uh, Tina Bradford is here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right into things here. Let's get this started with what I like to call stories of the day.
Stories of the day.
Right. So our main title slide here says Antifa exposed bunnies, chickens, and frogs. There is a bizarre fascination that the right has with the left, and specifically Antifa. Antifa is like their boogeyman, the same way that George Soros is their boogeyman. Guys, I didn't even understand this obsession with George Soros. Has anybody even seen that dude? Has anybody even seen him? Is he still alive? Has anybody seen George Soros? Has one person on the left received a check for payment of anything from George Soros? I'd like to know, because they've been talking about that since checks from Soros since 2016. I haven't seen a red penny from him. Anyway, yeah. So we're going to get into some stuff today. Aw. Wah, wah, wah. Donald Trump was not the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. And if anything else happened today, it's irrelevant, because that made my day indeed. But in other news, Donald Trump is going to be taking out his anger on his enemies list, the same enemies list that he said didn't exist, but he actually gave a preview to the entire world when he sent what was supposed to be a DM, but ended up being a Truth Social post of his enemies list. And that's a partial list. And as a result, yesterday we saw an indictment come down for New York's Attorney General, Letitia James. And today we found out that John Bolton will be indicted by sometime early next week, and James Comey has also been indicted. Most people believe these indictments are frivolous and they're going to go bye-bye quickly, but we shall see. And last but not least, let's get into what is Antifa and why are Republicans so terrified of it. Before you do anything else, if this is your first time, hey, Zelda, my friend, she has arrived. And Zelda, thank you so kindly for that amazingly generous donation. Thank you, Zelda. Thank you so much for your love and support for the show. Make sure you hit the like button. It looks like my thumbs up right there. And also hit the subscribe button, which is in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Let's continue. Okay, so this week my my Substack written was From Idiocracy. Have you guys seen Idiocracy? Great, hilarious movie, except not so hilarious when you start to think that, wait a minute, this isn't so much of a fiction. From Idiocracy to The Running Man, Trump's Dystopian America, how Trump's chaos mimics the scariest sci-fi and horror films. So you guys who know me know that I am a huge movie buff, a big aficionado of the movies, whether they are new or whether they are old. I've rewatched movies over and over, and it dawned on me that there are so many different aspects of this Trump administration that resemble things that I've seen in movies and or TV shows. And so my Substack got into it a little bit. Then there's Idiocracy, supposedly a comedy, but it's basically a documentary now. Luke Wilson and Maya Rudolph wake up 500 years later to a world where the smartest guy has only a double-digit IQ. Sound familiar? Anti-vaxxers like RFK Jr., now influencing health policy, are making vaccine skepticism cool again, setting us up for a real-world apocalypse. It's laughable until you realize the stakes are deadly. I rewatched The Running Man recently, that cheesy Arnold Schwarzenegger sci-fi flick where he's framed by the military, aided by a Fox News-style AI hit piece, and forced into a deadly American Gladiator-style show to survive. He teams up with rebels to, quote-unquote, break the signal and expose the deep state's lies. Sound like a stretch? Not when Trump's DOJ is pushing, quote unquote, reconfigured crime stats to justify troops in Washington, D.C., as Caroline Leavitt admitted in August 2025. So, yeah, there are so many different parallels. I was surprised when I first watched Running Man. There was no Fox News. I saw that I think it came out in the late 80s. And it was, it was a fun, campy Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he beats up the bad guys and he flexes and, but beneath the surface, there was some real political light commentary about how people in power use propaganda to manipulate the masses. And now, speaking of manipulating the masses, I was on Fox News this week. Ironically, it was actually I wasn't being featured on Fox News. And if you look at the screen there, you'll recognize from the upper left, that's JoJo from Jers. There's Hakeem Jeffries. And below him there is Joe Galena from Call to Activism, and then yours truly in the lower left. So we had a chance to interview Hakeem Jeffries right after he got into a heated altercation with Mike Lawler, one of the reps from New York City. And if you had a chance to watch this interview, it was a good one. And it was on the Siren Network, which I believe you can see on Substack, and it's probably available elsewhere too. But I do have a clip of this Fox News spot that we appeared on. Here it is.
Hakeem's throwing his hips around everywhere. Yesterday, he squabbled with a backbench Republican in a hallway. Now he's telling the story like he just took down Corn Pop.
I hear that Mike Lawler, who's a complete and total fraud, is waiting outside to step to me. I think some of my team would have probably preferred that I just ignore him. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not the one. Don't come for me unless I send for you. And I did not send for this malignant clown. I think he thought he was confronting Beltway Hakeem, but he saw Brooklyn Hakeem.
Brooklyn Hakeem. I think he might have coined that that name right there on the show. So it was a great episode. I hope you got a chance to watch it. If not, there is a clip on my Twitter feed. So check it out. So let's go ahead and slide right into the good news of the day. There was no Nobel Peace Prize for Donald Trump. And the only thing that makes this funny is the fact that he campaigned for it so actively. Honestly, I don't give a shit. Honestly, I don't. But I do. I do. I would have been heated if they had given him the Nobel Peace Prize. Why? Because he is actively mobilizing United States troops, military, against his own citizens. Number one. Number two, he is using extrajudicial executions of people in international waters. Oh, but they say they're drug dealers. Who said? Donald Trump? You mean the same guy who said Obama wasn't born in the United States? That guy? I don't understand why people still give Donald Trump any legitimacy whatsoever. He's been busted in lie after lie after lie after lie, and they're still like, Donald Trump says that these people were executed because they were drug dealers. And besides the fact, we don't execute drug dealers. We don't. They suspected drug dealers. They go through a process. They get arrested. They get a lawyer. They go to court. They get convicted. Bada bing, bada boom. That's how it's done in the United States of America. If you don't like it, MAGA, then you can get the fuck out. But that's how it's done here in this country that you say is so great. You know why it's so great? Because we are that country that gives people due process, whether you're a citizen or not. Oh, it's only for citizens. No, it's every person. Good Lord. Anyway, congratulations to Maria Corina Machado, who is she's now a peace laureate. She is the she is the opposing party leader in Venezuela. So congratulations to her. I'm very happy she got it. If she hadn't gotten it, I would have been happy if President Zelensky was given it. I did a Google search to see who was like who were the top the people in the running for the top nominees, and one was like a Sudan emergency group. Another one was Navalny's widow. I can't remember her first name. Even Greta Thunberg, she only had a 5% shot at winning, but even her, I'd have been happy to see her win. But congratulations to her, and too bad, so sad, Donald Trump. Sad trombone for you. Now, here's another thing that's got me scratching my head. First of all, the theme for today's episode is what's up, America? Why are you so crazy? America is crazy right now. America is so crazy. Like, I had to catch my breath, like writing up the different topics for today's episode, because the shit is literally off the chains. Just 1 week, you will be stunned that we made it through a week with all this nonsense. Bad Bunny, MAGA has lost their goddamn minds that he has been selected to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show. He's not just famous; he's the most popular American on earth by a lot. There's a lot of people who love his music, and he's an actor too. He's actually not a bad actor. I saw him in Bullet Train, I think, with opposite Brad Pitt. Very good. He's got some good acting chops. And he was just on Saturday Night Live, as you can see in this screenshot here. Here's a map showing the most popular music artist of each state, right? So right there at the top, obviously, is Taylor Swift. And she's like the most popular artist in 30 American states. And then right below her is by a lot is Rihanna, who's got 7 states. But right there after Rihanna is Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny has beat out Elvis Presley. That's how popular Bad Bunny is. He beat out Elvis Presley, for goodness sakes. but still, MAGA they can't deal with it. Here's a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, Bad Bunny says America has 4 months to learn Spanish before his perverse, unwanted performance at the Super Bowl halftime. Marge, what's your deal? It would be a good time to pass my bill to make English the official language of America. And there it is. There it is, folks. All the people that you hear griping about, why do I have to press 1 for English? Huh? Why are these people speaking Spanish at the gas station? That is what this uproar is about. People, there's so much anxiety about our fellow. And by the way, Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican. And last time I checked, Puerto Rico is a part of America. For crying out loud. Here's a tweet from Mike Nellis saying Trump and his MAGA influencers look so stupid attacking Bad Bunny. The guy has more crossover appeal than any living celebrity. He's the #1 streaming artist in the world. He headlines WWE pay-per-views. He hosts SNL. He fills stadiums. He stars in movies. The fuck are you doing? I have a really bizarre clip to share with you guys of of Mike Johnson. Someone asked Mike Johnson, wait, let me before I go there. Someone asked Mike Johnson what they thought about Bad Bunny. And here's Bill Madden saying, y'all thought I was kidding when I said MAGA would like to replace Bad Bunny with Lee Greenwood. For those of you unfamiliar with Lee Greenwood, he's like 80 years old. He's that guy who does that one song that they play at Trump rallies about America. And that's his one hit. But they want to replace Bad Bunny with that dude. But listen to how out of touch Mike Johnson is when they asked him about it. I was like, dude, what are you even?
As the Super Bowl halftime.
I didn't even know who.
Any reaction to Bad Bunny being chosen as the Super Bowl halftime?
I didn't even know who Bad Bunny was.
Okay.
But it sounds like a terrible decision, in my view, from what I'm hearing. What's that?
How come?
Well, it sounds like he's not someone who appeals to a broader audience, and I think there's so many eyes on the Super Bowl, a lot of young impressionable children, and I think. In my view, you would have Lee Greenwood or role models doing that, not somebody like this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It's funny that he wasn't prepared. He wasn't prepared for the how come. He wasn't ready for because most reporters don't ask these very obvious follow-up questions. He suggested that he was like the wrong person for this show. How come? Why? What's wrong? Yeah, young impressionable. Boy, oh boy. We're gonna get back to Mike Johnson and his whole notion of young and impressionable eyes here, because Mike Johnson has some splaining to do about a lot of stuff, specifically why he is preventing Adelita Grijalva from swearing in to her new job as representative. She won like last month and still hasn't been sworn in. But let's move on. So here's a news bit from earlier this week that the Pentagon is doing an investigation of 300 Department of Defense staff for mean things they said about Charlie Kirk. This is where your tax dollars are going to, folks. They are investigating. This is the literal definition of a witch hunt. All those times Donald Trump was talking about witch hunt. This is an actual witch hunt. They're looking to find people who said something untoward, not fawning about Charlie Kirk. Are you kidding me, bro? That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So Pete Hegseth says no fatties, right? No fatties in his Department of War. No fatties, no beardos. No beardos, right? So I guess JD Vance no longer eligible to go back into Department of Defense, whatever. Nobody with a beard, but $400 million super jets given to us by Qatar. That's okay. $5.5 billion golf resort, also from Qatar. That's okay. And of course, building a Qatari Air Force facility in Idaho. What? What? That's not America first, guys. MAGA. I'm talking to you, MAGA, right? Because you guys are going on and on about America first, and this sounds like Qatar first. Explain that. You okay with that? Because I know there's quite a few of you who are not okay with it. For instance, Laura Loomer, who tweeted, "What the fuck is America first about allowing Qatar to have a military base on U.S. soil? This is an abomination. So much for Make America Safe Again by letting funders of Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood have a military base on U.S. soil. Unfucking believable. Just unbelievable. Now, if you're not going to take it from me, MAGA, take it from one of your fellow maggots, Laura Loomer, who's rightfully upset about it. There's so much to be upset about, though. Take, for instance, Pam Bondi. Since we're talking about gifts, illicit gifts that have yet to be explained, Pam Bondi was before the Senate oversight hearing this week, and she was not forthcoming with any answers for anyone about anything. And she was asked some questions. She was asked questions about the Epstein files. She was asked questions about Tom Homan. And instead of answering questions, see that look on her face, her super Karen expression? That's what she had for the length of that hearing. And instead of answering questions, she had like sheets of paper that were basically like hit lists against every senator that asked her a question. Instead of answering the question, she was like, well, what about you and your vote to do this, blah, blah, blah. And what about you and how your state is this and that? Like, woman, can you just answer the question? So she refused to ask, and she refused to answer any questions about Tom Homan. For those of you unfamiliar, Tom Homan is the so-called border czar, the one who's in charge, the mushmouth, who's in charge of ICE deportations and whatnot. Before he had the job as border czar, he was actually taking bribes from people. He was soliciting bribes, telling people that he could get them a gig with the Trump, either a gig or a contract with the Trump administration in exchange for money. So he was investigated by the FBI, and they have him on tape accepting a bribe from undercover FBI. So the tape exists somewhere. But right after Pam Bondi took office, I think it might have been, right after she took office, they scuttled that investigation, closed it entirely. So now she feels like she doesn't have to answer for it because, there's nothing to discuss. When they ask her a question, did Tom Homan accept a bribe? she says her answer is Tom Homan did nothing illegal. What? And then for follow-ups, people say, well, then she'll say, I answered that question already. No, you didn't. Here's a clip. Here's just a snip of what of her performance, abysmal performance a few days ago. No, it's not that. Hang on. Where the hell is it? There's Bad Bunny. Da, 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 da. All right. Well, I can't find it, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. She was not forthcoming. I tell you. You guys know. You saw it. All right. But let's talk about this tweet that Donald Trump sent out on September 20th, last month. It says, Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially, same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. And I've highlighted here, what about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. And then down below, he says, they impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. So if you ever needed a get out of jail free card, all you need basically is Donald Trump publicly stating his intentions to target you and his motivation for targeting you. Same damn thing. So in the past several weeks, he has had James Comey indicted. He's had Letitia James indicted, and John Bolton will be indicted at some point next week. And this is crazy. This is the stuff right out of Banana Republics. This is the stuff that you, MAGA, were accusing Joe Biden of doing. Joe Biden had nothing to do with the Department of Justice. In fact, to an infuriating degree, most Democrats were very upset about the fact that Merrick Garland did not seem like he wanted to indict or prosecute anybody. Dragged his feet. Except, you know who he did? You know who he didn't drag his feet on? Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was indicted, was prosecuted, and convicted. Hunter Biden, the president's own son. So if you guys want to make an argument about President Biden weaponizing, the DOJ using it, it doesn't hold water. It doesn't hold water. Because look, if you're in charge of the Department of Justice and you have the ability to get your son or your daughter free and clear from any prosecution whatsoever, you're probably going to do it. Joe Biden did no such thing. In fact, they investigated Joe Biden while he was in office, for crying out loud. Use your brains, people. Donald Trump is deliberately and blatantly in everybody's face doing this shit. And Congress is like, when I say Congress, I mean Republican Congress. Go nuts, King. Same thing with SCOTUS. Let's talk a little bit about Make America Healthy again, right? Also this week, RFK Jr. gave some remarks. I believe these remarks were part of Donald Trump's weird cabinet meetings in which they all fawn over him, and the competition is basically to see who can give the most nauseatingly sycophantic praise of Donald Trump to his face. And during this hearing, RFK Jr. said some, like, there's dumb and there's insanely dumb, and then there's what RFK Jr. said. And I'm just going to play it for you because you have to hear it to believe it. It really is, like, it's insane that he said that and that he still has that job. You know, I would have, if I were him, you know, that's when you retire in disgrace. You resign in disgrace.
With this public burst of insanity. I'll say one other thing about Tylenol, only because of this. This morning before I came in here, somebody showed me a TikTok video of a pregnant woman, 8 months pregnant. She is an associate professor at the Columbia Medical School. And she is saying F Trump and gobbling Tylenol with her baby in her placenta. With her baby in her what? Her baby in her placenta? Either he doesn't know what a placenta is, or he doesn't know what a baby is. He's the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and he has no idea what a placenta is. And he's speaking to a president of the United States who also has absolutely no idea what a placenta is. And between them are 2 men in that cabinet who show no hint of having the slightest idea of what a placenta is. Saying the fetus is in her placenta during pregnancy is like saying it's in her foot. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s father turned against.
that was the best. Man, I tell you, I look forward to watching Lawrence O'Donnell every night, man. That man brings it, you know. We need more people like him. Anyway, that was hilarious and true. Insane. Here's another crazy thing, right? When I said I was going to present to you guys the crazy things that happened this week, Marjorie Taylor Greene just kind of casually calling out the Republican Party, saying, "Hi, this is your daily reminder that insurance has become unaffordable for most Americans, health, auto, and home. I wish my party would make this a priority." So I brought this up to, I think it might have been JoJo and Joe Galena, and they told me like pump the brakes because it does seem as though she is, that she's seen the light. But in actuality, they pointed out that Marjorie Taylor Greene is kind of rich. So if she's complaining, because I said, well, you know, what do you mean she's got ulterior motives? You know, she's concerned about her adult children who she says can't afford their health insurance premiums. And they pointed out to me, like, Majid, she is filthy rich. She's worth a lot of money, and hence her kids are rich. And, you know, that's a bunch of nonsense. And they believe that it has something to do with trying to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. I'm resisting calling it Obamacare because I feel like they're trying to weaponize it right now. So this person here says your party made a priority to cause these high rates. That is incorrect. In fact, we're on the record as specifically trying to stave off high rates. So what Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about is that when these Affordable Care Act, the ACA subsidies, when they expire, some people's premiums are going to go up by as much as 387% is what I saw. I saw a top 10 list of all the different states that are going to get astronomical increases in their health insurance. And those top 10 states were all red states. You know, there was like Virginia and, damn it, let me see. I took a picture of it. It's on my phone here. Mm-mm-mm-mm. It's here somewhere. Oh, wait, is it video? It's video. Anyway, take my word for it. Trust me, bro. Source, trust me, bro. Here's a famous quote from a stupid president. A government shutdown falls on the president's lack of leadership. I mean, problems start from the top and they have to get solved from the top. A shutdown means the president is weak. And this is a quote from the author of The Art of the Deal, the guy who prides himself on his ability to make deals. He supposedly made a deal with Hamas. Hamas. So you mean to tell us that you can make a deal with terrorists, but you can't make a deal with Americans who are fighting for not just Democrats? We're not just fighting for Democrats to have health care. It's for everybody, bro. It's all of the states, not just blue states. You know, this jackass said earlier this week, he said that he wanted to cut Democrat programs. I'm saying Democrat. He's, you know, instead of Democratic, he says Democrat programs. Imagine if Joe Biden said something like that. I want to cut Republican programs only as punishment. How petty can you be? So yeah, dude, you're the president. You yourself have put the blame in the past. When the president was a black man, you said he should be responsible for a shutdown. Now you're the president. So step to your business because it's on you. You control the House, you control the Senate. And when I say he controls the House and the Senate, that is exactly what I mean. I don't mean the Republican Party as a whole. I mean he, because the Republicans have abdicated responsibility for their jobs. They've abdicated, they've given up being responsible for being a check or balance to this tyrant. They have said, we are not going to offer any resistance whatsoever to anything he wants to do. Anything he wants to do is fine by us. And that's not how Congress is supposed to work. So yeah, he runs Congress. He runs Congress and he runs the White House, and by God, he runs the Supreme Court. So all of this is on him. Use your authority, call a meeting, and get this done. They're talking about firing thousands of people. Today, we learned next week they're going to start firing, not just laying off, not furloughing, but firing thousands of federal employees. And this is, by the way, what he wanted to do anyway. Johnson not swearing in Democrat has nothing to. Oh yeah, I did say I was going to get back to this, right? So Speaker Johnson has been interviewed repeatedly and said that and insists that not swearing in newly elected Representative Grijalva has absolutely nothing to do with the Epstein files. So this new representative would be vote number 218 that would be necessary for a discharge petition. And that discharge petition would allow the House to basically release all of the Epstein files, not just a portion. And of course, they would, redact, if they haven't already redacted the names of victims, They would redact the names of the victims and then boom, get those all out there as they should have been. So what does he say? At the bottom of this article here, it says, it has nothing to do with that at all. We will swear her in when everybody gets back, Johnson said in a Tuesday press conference, right? When everybody gets back, they'll swear her in. So guess what he did today? What did he do today? He gave them all of next week off. Breaking. Speaker Mike Johnson just told Republicans they can all stay home next week. Not even 1 hour later, the Trump administration announced that they are moving forward with firing thousands of federal workers. Coincidence? Yep. So that's what's happening. And Mike Johnson absolutely is running interference for Donald Trump on the Epstein files. There's no question in my mind. Zero question. Has everything to do with that. So here on the screen, I've got Kristi Noem, who was told this. This might be right after she was told that she cannot use the bathroom to make a poops because they do not abide by fascists, and so yeah, she was not permitted to use the bathroom at a certain facility. But the funniest thing about Kristi Noem was not the denial of poop service, but it was when she went to the rooftop with this influencer. What's his name? Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson is a right-wing influencer. He's that guy who got millions from Russians to spread Russian disinformation. And there was a great buildup. I'm going to show you the clip, right? There was a great buildup to this because everybody was being told that Portland was on fire. Portland was under siege. Portland was a war zone. Right? Excuse me. So here's Benny Johnson. I don't even know how they allowed this to be released. It's funny as hell. So he follows her with the camera, tracking her as she walks to the edge of the roof with a steely gaze, getting ready to look down at the war zone below. And this is too funny. Let's see. It's here. I got it. Here it is. Wait, let me read. Breaking. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem stares down. Like, did this guy write his tweet first and then forget what he witnessed with his own eyes? Maybe he didn't record. No, that's him recording this, right? Comical. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem stares down army of Antifa and a guy in a chicken suit from the rooftop of the ICE facility here in Portland. Noem says, hey, guy in the chicken suit, you can do better. Too bad they are uneducated and ill-informed. Noem isn't chicken. But the army of Antifa. No plumes of smoke, no sounds of explosion, no sounds of war, clear blue sky, nothing. Look at the shadows. There's 1, 2, 3 people holding phones and cameras documenting this. Four people now. I could have sworn I heard somebody say, "Come on down, we got a Subway sandwich for you."
Yes. That crowd would be here right about this time. That PD, they'd be right in front of the building.
The guy talking to her like he's giving her some serious logistics, and this is such a joke, such a complete waste of time and resources. How are they not completely humiliated and embarrassed? Here's Lucy L saying, "I'm about 45 minutes from Portland. The news here, along with my friend that lives there, tell and shows that there's nothing, just a few people dressing up as furries and bunnies." That's it. That's it. And we've seen it. We've seen it ourselves. There are plenty of videos out there right now. But yeah, this is oops. But yeah, that's basically it. That's what all the buildup was. It's not even a big crowd of protesters either. Yeah, and so the frogs, the frogs. By the way, if you're nearby them, be careful because they are possibly drunken. They possibly drank water that made them gay, according to Alex Jones. Frogs together strong. That's a play off of, I think, Planet of the Apes. This is a famous image right there of the standoff, the showdown between these heavily armed and armored soldiers and the frog just getting his groove on. It's horrendous and hilarious at the same time. So let's talk about Antifa. What does Antifa mean? So anti, you all know anti means against, right? And fa is fascism. Fascism is authoritarian rule that crushes freedoms and silences opposition. Silences opposition. Excuse me. So if you have a leader who is, let's say, for instance, another thing I forgot to show you, but earlier this week, Donald Trump also said that he did away with freedom of speech on flag burning. Flag burning, believe it or not, is a protected form of free speech. And he said that he did away with that. I don't think he can, actually. That falls under the First Amendment. So Antifa equals anti-fascism, simply opposing fascism. Here's another definition. A person or group actively opposing fascism is an anti-fascist. That's what Antifa is. There is no headquarters for Antifa. Okay, guys? There's no headquarters. There's nobody. There's no one person. Tell me who's running Antifa. If you ask who was running Al Qaeda, 20 years ago, somebody would say, was it 20 years ago? Osama bin Laden, right? If you ask who was running ISIS, they would tell you somebody else. If they ask you who was running Hamas, they would say somebody else. But who's running Antifa? So apparently they're going to be looking for people who are funding Antifa. Here's a shot of Antifa during World War II when they were fighting Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. Here's a shot of President FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and General Eisenhower. Also members of Antifa. You could probably call them the leaders of Antifa, but and then you have some people on the right who try to make it sound like it's more than it is. Actually, Antifa is decentralized. Is that what it is? Decentralized? It's a decentralized terror network. Is that what Antifa is? Really? So stupid. Yeah. Conservatives are so frightened by things that don't happen. I saw a video put together by, I guess, the White House, and it featured Pam Bondi, and it featured Kristi Noem, and a bunch of right-wing influencers. That was absolutely hilarious. I'm going to share it with you because they really, really took this seriously, and they want you to take it seriously too. So I would be, remiss if I didn't share this with you so we can all not take it seriously together. It's pretty fucking funny. Here we go.
Antifa beats journalists. Antifa attacks our police stations. They attack our courthouses. They dox our law enforcement officers. No more. They are a terrorist group, and we are coming after them.
We are here at the White House today to unmask Antifa, to follow the money all the way to the top. If you want to get to the bottom of who is fomenting this chaos and violence in our country, you must follow the money.
I was a mainstream reporter in Seattle for 10 years before I quit mainstream media, in part due to its refusal to acknowledge the dangers of Antifa and radical left-wing violence.
Part of the problem that we have is that a lot of people refuse to believe that Antifa is real. It is just a made-up thing, but I have seen them. They are real, they are dangerous, and they are violent.
They are an organized, systemic, international criminal enterprise. And what the FBI is going to do is trace the money, follow the funds, and find every single person that was involved in funding the riots and the violent acts of criminality that they're perpetrating on our street.
I watched Antifa brutally beat, harass, and threaten Americans in the street, but all of that ends with the Trump administration.
I was brutally attacked and almost killed by Antifa in the streets of Seattle. All of my colleagues have been attacked. I can't think of a single one who hasn't. Violence against journalists and police officers in our streets can't stand.
All right. So I've had enough of that. I mean, I said it's hilarious. It's pathetic though. I actually do hope that they get to the bottom of who is funding those attacks that they call Antifa. And I'll tell you why I hope they get to the bottom of it, right? I've been watching this for a long time. There's a guy named Andy, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, NGO. Andy Ngo, maybe? I'll take a stab at that, right? But this is a guy who goes around to all these different protest sites, right? And he puts himself in the middle of conflict or whatever, and he antagonizes people. Like he'll bump into them, intentionally, and cause somebody to shove him back. And when they shove him back, oh, you've assaulted me. And I've seen members of the right wing, like there's another guy, Nick Sortor, Sortor. That dude got arrested by Portland cops because they watched his whole deal. They watched him walk up to a woman and shove her. So this is what they do. They force themselves into situations to antagonize and drive up the to antagonize and instigate conflict, right? Not to de-escalate, but to escalate. So, yeah, I've saw him do that. I've seen Andy Ngo do that, and so yeah. And aside from that, you'll see people wearing these black helmets, right? You can't see what their face. Well, you can't see who they are. They're black everything. They're covered from head to toe with like heavy gear. This is not your mom and your grandma going down with their signs saying, fight fascism and fuck Trump and all. This is not that. These are people who look like they are geared up for war, right? Look at this clown here. Antifa are the foot soldiers of the Democratic Party. So we are. So just to be clear, right? We're snowflakes, but also we're savage warriors. Nah, come on, man. Come on. That's stupid. What I believe those people in those masks and helmets are paid instigators. They're people. They are paid. I believe it. They are paid to go in and escalate conflicts. So, for instance, when you saw peaceful protests at colleges across America early this year and last year, right? I think it was mostly last year you saw that. And then all of a sudden, Columbia University, things went haywire. Things went off the rails within a day of Mike Johnson's visit to Columbia University. All of a sudden, after weeks of peaceful protest, all of a sudden, things went haywire. And could you identify who started it? Who kicked off the violence? Who kicked off that stuff? No, because they're covered. Their faces covered, obviously. Do you ever find out, after the fact, who did it? No. They can find a guy who was, on a rooftop and ran for his life after he supposedly allegedly shot Charlie Kirk during a speech. They can find that dude. They can't find the people who instigate these problems. And that is because I believe who benefits? Who benefits when our peaceful protests become violent? Why is it that during the day, everything is hunky-dory and cool, right? People have peaceful sit-ins, they sing songs and stuff like that. You've seen thousands and millions of pictures and footage and video. But then at night, when visibility is down, that's when you have these guys coming out with the helmets, and they're basically undoing all of the peaceful protests from the entire day. They start throwing Molotov cocktails. And so what happens when they start burning shit up? That then gives the people in power a reason to come down with the iron fist, to bring down the hammer. So who benefits from that? Obviously, it's the people who want to bring down the fucking iron hammer. It gives them a reason. It says, see, they're animals. We know. And when I say we, I'm saying the real protesters, the real members of the Democratic Party. Those people in helmets, they might as well be anarchists for all we know. But yeah, go ahead and get down to the bottom of that. Find out who is paying for them to fuck our shit up, because we don't want them as part of our protests, okay? And our protests are righteous. Our protests, we have one coming up on October 18th. It's, what's it called? It's the No King's Day, right? We don't swear an oath or loyalty to any king. We handled that shit with the Revolutionary War back in 1776. No King's Day previously, and the hands-off protests, there were millions of people showed up. One of those protests happened during Donald Trump's military parade and rained on his fucking parade because so many people showed up to that protest, which was peaceful. No incidents whatsoever. It was during the day. It's at nighttime when shit goes down. And 9 times out of 10, when you see these people doing bad shit, they're the ones wearing the helmets. You can't see who they are. That's our same complaint with ICE. ICE have their masks on. You can't identify them. When you're doing bad shit, that's when you need to hide your face. When you're doing stuff that you can stand behind, that you're not ashamed of, that you're actually proud of, you don't need to hide your face. So ICE, yeah, you're kidnapping little girls and grandmas and grandpas and shit like that. Fuck you, ICE. You are fascist and you are full of shit. You don't belong in our communities. And I love when I see those videos when people chastise them and chase them out of their neighborhoods. I love that. More of that. Because it's going to take every one of us citizens, not just Democrats, but Republicans and independents and people who are not politically affiliated, the people who say, I don't pay attention to politics. You too, start paying attention. Because we are sitting on the precipice right now. We're sitting on the edge of completely losing our country of possibly never having another free election ever again. I don't think you realize how serious that is. You want to be North Korea? Because that's what they have. That's what North Korea has. And don't tell me you're overreacting. They said that. They said that a year ago. We're not overreacting. If anything, we are underreacting. Donald Trump has stripped away all of the guardrails that were present in his first presidency. He stripped away anybody who would who would push back against him. I don't know what he's told members of the Republican House and the Republican Senate to make them act like little sheepdogs, little, passive, complicit sycophants to go along with his program of autocracy. But this is insane. Government doesn't work if it's just half. If it's just Democrats and no Republicans offering any resistance whatsoever, what the fuck is this? If Joe Biden acted like this or President Obama acted like this, we'd be raising hell too. But they wouldn't have. So that if Joe Biden did this and if Obama did that, they would never have. Because they're good people. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is trying to hide his involvement in the Epstein files. He's trying to, he will do anything he has to do. And that includes setting the military out to every single blue state that he can to cause chaos, to eliminate freedom of speech, to eliminate opposition. He will do it to keep people from finding out that he's a child fucker. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm not about to give my country up to someone like Donald Trump. Never. Never. So anyway, let's see. I've missed some of your comments here. Trump Reaper says she's emailed me last week about nokings.org. I will check it out. Trump Reaper, thank you for that. Let me see. There's a long comment here from MAGA morons. It says, LOL, you guys are so fed. Trump is pushing for civil war. He wants to be a dictator. It's obvious to the whole world, but MAGA is actually causing the problems to push for the war. I really hope you Democrats are smart and are buying weapons. I don't know about that. I mean, I had thought about buying weapons a long time ago. That was primarily for the zombie apocalypse. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. I'm serious. It occurred to me it's maybe less than a 1% chance that a zombie apocalypse will ever happen. But, if a zombie apocalypse were to happen, that's not the time you want to learn how to use a gun. You want to know how to load that thing, load the clip, and all that stuff. So, so I don't know about that. I mean, am I worried about a civil war? I think probably no more than anybody else is concernicus about it. You don't want to see it. People have been talking about civil war since 2016. Okay, so let's keep things in perspective. I'm not saying sleep on it. I'm not saying ignore any signs. If you start to see your MAGA neighbors stockpiling shit suddenly, and you start hearing a lot more people practicing in their backyard, then send out the bat signal. Send out a smoke alarm. Sharon wants to know, was that before you were sober? No. No, see, my sister turned me on to that show, The Walking Dead. I would say it was in the mid 2000s. Excuse me. And I started watching it and I was fascinated by it. And at first I was like, why do I want to watch yet another zombie thing? She's like, oh, no, you got to watch it. It's not just about zombies. It's about, politics and interpersonal relationships and blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, fine. And she was right. The scariest thing about that show, Walking Dead, was not the zombies. It was the people. It was the people that you would have thought during a time of crisis, it's us against the zombies, right? So that should be enough commonality for us to come together. But people are going to be people, and people were selfish. And, when it came time to gathering supplies, if you didn't have a gun, somebody could take your supplies, right? And all they had to do is flash their guns, like, give me your supplies or you're dead, So that zombie apocalypse thing, it's kind of a scary thing. It could be for anything. It could be for, there's another movie. I forget what the name of it was with Matt Damon. Oh, Contagion. I think it was. I think Contagion. And this was when there was a massive pandemic where everybody got sick and there was a patient zero and supplies became limited. So anytime you have these apocalyptic movies or scenarios where there's a breakdown of society, where they stop collecting garbage and there's no more electricity and there's no running water and all that stuff, that's when people start to like lose their shit. And so, yeah, if that happens, yeah, it's time to stock up. Maybe you don't want to wait for that. Maybe, I'm not saying run out now and, go to Bullets Are Us, but at some point, we're all grown-ups here. This is a country that has that sort of thing readily available in Walmart. You can buy it. Here's a question from Trey American. Says, what do you think about the theory that Trump's goal is to crash blue states so during the midterms, people will vote red to avoid further attacks? I hadn't heard that. I had heard that that Trump was trying to crash the blue states so that people would become accustomed to seeing the military around, so that if he was planning to, like, there was a time when he wanted to confiscate all of the voting machines. And the idea was, if he already had the military in place in these states, these blue states, he could have the military confiscate these voting machines and then, redo the verdict however he saw fit. Have somebody mess with the count on these machines, that sort of thing. So that's concerning too. And I don't know if Democrats have a contingency plan for that, but though, if there's any leaders of the Democratic Party watching this show, I seriously hope that you guys are considering that, because that is something that worries me, that somebody messing with our votes. That's a good question though. Let's see. Okay, so I don't have any of my usual TV show or movie recommendations. I will tell you that I finished watching the movie Weapons. It's fantastic. Weapons is a horror movie. If you've seen the commercial, you've seen kids running with their arms out like that, like airplanes or whatever, or the Naruto, I think they call it the Naruto run. Fantastic movie. Excellent. Starring Josh Brolin, starring Benedict Wong, I believe his name. He's Wong from Doctor Strange. And I can't remember her name. She has blonde hair. She played Ruthie in the show Ozark. She's very good. Great show. Sorry, excellent movie. Julia Garner. Thank you, Tracy Ann. Excellent movie. Highly recommend it. I also saw this movie. Wifey and I watched this movie on Apple TV, and it was called The Lost Bus, and it was with Matthew McConaughey turning in a terrific performance based on a true story about those. Do you guys remember those wildfires that hit California back in, I want to say it was like 2018 or 2019? It was that year that Donald Trump said you need to rake your forest, rake the leaves in your forest, so to prevent wildfires like this. And I think it was in Paradise, California. And I think it was either Paradise or Pleasant, and he messed up the name of the town. It was one of those things. True story movie. Excellent. Highly recommend that. Aside from that, that is all I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Yes, it was Paradise. Thank you for that. Anybody have any questions for me before I bounce? Because I'm about to get my pizza and movie on. I don't know what I'm watching for movie this. I might watch some old movies. I have a bunch of movies in my list on Netflix. When you can make a list of movies that you want to watch, and I have some movies that are old that I've never seen before. Fur babies are wonderful. We love them so much. They make us happy. And honestly, at any point of the day when I'm here in my office and I've had enough and I'm just fed up, I go out there and I can pick up one of those fur babies. And, they tell you sometimes when you watch too much politics, they say, go touch grass. I go pet my cat, so it's good. Okay, Soleil Lagrec says Paradise, the idiot called it Pleasant. Thank you. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me for Storytime with BDD. As always, I look forward to seeing you guys here next week. Same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.